All right, everybody, welcome back to Praetor Magic. My name is DM Cross, and I am joined, as always, for Reflections of the Council by Frexen Walker and Magical Hacker. Guys, how are you doing tonight?
Doing great. Doing great.
Oh man.
Doing pretty well. I'm above average.
Well, unlike last time, I don't feel nearly as sick, so I'm doing better. I also had Monday off, so it's actually not been a bad Monday, which is unusual. So let's keep it rolling, and hopefully it will continue to be a good Monday as we talk about a very interesting topic tonight on Reflections of the Council. Now, for those of you who are watching this on YouTube, listening to it on Spotify or Libsyn, this is, of course, a recording. However, it is our live podcast where every Monday on Twitch we stream this with our friends in chat, as you can see to the side. We start off with the topic, and then as the chat throws out responses or questions or this, that, and the other thing, we kind of tailor it to what you guys want to talk about. So
join us. We start at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, in case anybody was wondering. But yeah, feel free to join us, because the more people we have, the more fun it is, and the less we stay on topic, right?
Yeah. I mean, we pregame, right? We do like 10 minutes of talking just to warm up and get into the feel of having the conversation or whatever. And like we started talking about Two-Headed Giant, and then somehow we got to talking about how it looks, how MTGO looks for streaming and crap like that. So there you go. Well, let's see how well we can stay on tonight's topic, because what we're doing tonight is we're actually talking about something that happens fairly often in Commander, especially in multiplayer formats, I think, in general. So it could be standard, it could be... I don't think multiplayer modern typically happens, but maybe that's your thing. I don't know. Cube. Basically, spite plays. So, for those of you who might not understand what we mean, at the end of the day, the point of the game is to kill your opponents, right? You start off with 20 or 40 life, whatever it is, and you eventually want everybody to be 0, and you want to win, or through alternative means or whatever. So, you are going to probably, if percentages, and Frexing can probably back me up on this, you're not going to win every game. You're going to lose 75% of the time is the average, I believe, right?
Yeah, I mean the average of winning is when you have 4 opponents would be 25% of the time.
Yeah, exactly. And then Frixian said that he's feeling above average, so maybe he wins only 70% of the time.
Wins only 70% of the time?
Yeah, yeah.
Only loses 70% of the
time. No. I meant wins.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
That's awful high for me, even.
Jeez. No. Frexian, once he turn 6 kills people, we start getting him out of the game early, so.
Okay, all right.
That's when his percentage dips. But, so what we're talking
the thing about playing multiplayer, this self-policing, right?
Exactly.
Yes, absolutely.
But what we are talking about is when you're going down, and in your last instances of having priority in the game before you are a watcher in the game as opposed to a player, what do? Especially if you have answers in hand, if you have instant speed removal in hand, if you have some way to wipe the field with, everybody's favorite board wipe, Cyclonic Rift, let's say, in hand. So how do you use it? Do you use it to spite the player who's trying to kill you? Do you do something just in general to the board indiscriminately, so where like everybody's affected by it? Again, Cyclonic Rift is a good example of that. Or, and this is probably where we're going to get a little heated up, at least some of us, do you do something to the other people at the table who aren't killing you in hopes that you at least lose to the person who wins? Which is a thing. And it's happened before. Like, it's even happened in my, like, paper play groups where, like, oh, well, if I lose to the person who wins, I don't feel as bad, blah, blah, blah. So, for you guys, for Frexing and Magical Hacker, have you guys experienced one or all or some of those kinds of things in your games, whether it's online or on paper?
Yeah, definitely the majority of those things, if not all of those things, I've experienced at one time or another. What about you, Frixian?
I've experienced these things too many times, and I find it infuriating.
Yeah.
To no end, because I pride myself on trying to make the best play at all times, and when people do things, they're just like blatantly like, oh, well, you blew up my thing that had to be blown up. Let me blow up your thing, even though this person also has a thing that is equally to moderately as scary, but I'm not going to blow up that thing. I'm going to blow up your completely useless thing because it's your thing.
So that's
but you blew up my Paradox engine, so how dare you?
Yeah. So that spite plays not just in the ending of the game, but just throughout the game. Right, you have those people who lock on to the first person who messes with them, and then they don't analyze the threats as they develop. Right, so if you're going off Frexian, let's say, and I do something to stop you, that's threat analysis. Now,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
Hacker did something to me at the beginning of the game and Phyrexian's going off, and I still continue to mess with Hacker even though I have a way to stop Phyrexian, that's also another form of spite play that I didn't necessarily talk about in the beginning of the play. Is that what you're going toward as well?
Yeah, and I think it's important. Like with this topic, we should start off with the inception of the topic, which our former cast member / now sort of director,
Sort of director. Oh man, he's gonna
Mr.
hear that one.
Valdor.
Is he directing? I thought he had passed away and we had a funeral for him in chat.
I can't wait for him to edit this video.
He's directing
this
from
audio.
the grave then because he's still sending us ideas, which is now a very scary concept that he's sending us ideas on Discord if he's dead. But he said basically it was the idea of Reddit it was an idea he saw on Reddit about king making and letting an opponent win. So he had the opponent had like a pact of negation, and so they're three players. Player C is comboing out on turn 3, and their non-storm wins on the stack, and you have a pact of negation in hand, but you can't pay for it on your upkeep. So you just let that player win, or do you pact and sacrifice yourself so player A or B has a chance to win? So you have the 3 players you're playing against, and one of them's about to combo out. You have a pact of negation, but if you play it, you cannot pay for it on the upkeep, so you will lose. Do you do it? Why or why not? Is that the right play, or was not the right play? So
personally, I will.
Hacker.
Yeah, I will always in that situation. I will always do that. But I totally understand someone else choosing to not do that. Play the pact, and and choosing to play the pact is fine by me. That's what I would usually do because in my mind, if both situations, I will be equally dead. Right? If I play the pact or if I don't, either way, I'm gonna die. But if I do play the pact, then I'm actually trying to help the underdogs in the situation. And for me, that's kind of like the secondary thought process in my mind. If I cannot, influence whether or not I can be winning here or not, then at least in my mind, I try to do whatever I can do to help the underdogs and to make the game more level in terms of the playing field, right? Because when you have one football team, give me some football team,
The Giants.
No,
the Giants. All right, give me, so let's say the Giants is playing
give
against
nobody the Giants. They don't deserve that.
Football team. And obviously the Giants will be very, very behind and very, not doing so well.
Like real life. Yep.
Yeah. So if there's any time that we can kind of help the Giants team, maybe let them get a play in, maybe not be so aggressive against them, then it'll be a more balanced game. It'll be definitely more fair. And so for me, I will play that pact to make it more fair for the 3 players that will be left. But yeah, it's kind of interesting the other applications of this question. But before we kind of, before I have some other questions of my own, what do you think, Seth? Would you be playing that pact or no?
So if the answer is, do we all lose to the combo or do I just lose? I mean, either way, you're losing. Either way, you're losing. So you're choosing whether to be the only loser or potentially the only loser because there's no guarantee that they're not going to just restart up with a different combo or recur their combo or blah blah blah, depending on situations. But I think at that point you just let the game end and start over, because otherwise then you sit there and watch them probably try to kill that player, and then they sit there upset that you did that. Like, it meant that much for them not to win. Because, again, you didn't have a chance of winning in this situation, in the pact of negation situation. You have no chance of winning, right?
Right.
So, it was so important for the combo player not to win that you both sat out of a game, as opposed to just letting the game end and starting over and potentially getting, either hating the combo player out, maybe if they are running the same deck, or just being more aware of the cards that they're playing and the combo that it works, and trying to remove the key pieces to keep it balanced. So I think in this particular case, it doesn't make any sense to do the spite play, right?
I think I'm a lot on the same page with you, DM, of this thing of it really depends. Is this a combo that just wins them the game on the spot on turn 3? Which in case, yeah, it sucks, but at the same time, the game's just over. So I'm choosing between game being over for me or the game being over for everyone. And it's also kind of like what Kraus said, where it's like, hey, if I save this and prevent this person from dying, like prevent the other two people from dying, now I'm sitting here waiting on them to finish the game. And I've made that person a little salty at me probably because like, yeah, it was that important for me not to win? Why just me?
Yeah. Like
and
what
you
did
can
I
be
do
like,
to you?
Well, I would have done that if anybody was comboing off on turn 3. But it is going to hit them right where it hurts to be like, you died knowing you're going to sit here and watch us finish out this game now just to prevent me from winning.
Yeah.
You like, and
you
we were
had
talking about
something
a little bit
against
before
me.
stream, like I'm always trying to win. Like I'm always trying to find a way to win. So this pact of negation play is not going to help me achieve that goal. It's just going to help me help someone else not win. And that's never been my goal playing Magic, is to make other people not win unless it helps me win.
I do want to jump in really quick. I think in like a game where it's like a regular play group, you could probably ask the table, like, hey, how do you guys feel if I were to pack? Because I'm out of the game, but you guys could keep playing. I don't care, send them to watch to see what happens. Because that way, like, the combo player could be like, yeah, I don't care, whatever. It's, like, you're going to lose anyway. So if their confidence in their deck and their ability to redo what they're doing or just play it out is high enough and they don't care and they're like, yeah, whatever, then go ahead and do it. Because either way, in that situation, in that particular situation anyway, you're losing the game. Everybody's losing or you're losing. So if the person being affected doesn't care, then yeah, go for it. But that's with the idea that
too, though, like your scenario, I would hope wouldn't happen too much because I hope like within a play group you aren't playing competitive turn 3 combo decks too often. That's just not a good way to foster a play group.
Well, if it's like I have no way to tutor it up and I just happen to draw into the final piece kind of thing, you know what I mean? Or even if it's mid game and you just don't have a way to pay for pact of negation for some reason. I don't know what that reason could be. Like you're behind on mana, whatever. But like, even if it's a turn like
why you don't play pact of negation, so you don't have this ethical quandary.
But sometimes you gotta counter things with no mana.
But then we would have nothing to talk about.
That too. But this is just, and again, like that's just one situation. Like if at any point you doing the spite play hurts you so bad that you're almost out of the game, do you do it or not? I think it's kind of.
I'll have to say, like personally, I did sort of do it on Jeremy's stream the other night because I had oh gosh, what's the name of the card? Why am I blanking? The one in a green, prevent all combat damage with buyback, sacrifice a land. Yeah, constant mist. Mm-hmm. I had constant mist on stream, and I was never in that game. All I literally did was like play a Vandal Blast to board wipe artifacts, play this to board wipe like a Plasma Sack to board wipe creatures, and play constant mist just over and over again, sacrificing all my lands just to prevent Jeremy from winning. And then prevent him from killing other people, and then all of a sudden, like when they finally turned the tables and were able to kill Jeremy, I'm like, no, I'm not going to let him die either. I'm just going to keep anyone from dying.
No, that was not the situation. You turned around and blatantly said Jeremy could win that game. Don't you lie. Don't you lie to me.
But by keeping Jeremy alive, yes, he won the game, but I did prevent him from dying, and I would have prevented what's his name?
Somebody.
I forget.
Yeah.
But I would have prevented him from dying the next turn if Jeremy had tried to kill him. I would have just held up Constant Mist, preventing people from dying as much as possible for the rest of the game. But unfortunately, he was mad at me and scooped. But I can't blame him for being mad at me or salty at me because I definitely did just like turn a nail on the head. So that's an example of like, I wasn't. That was one example of where I could have just sat there and said, "Oh well, there's nothing I can do to actually win this game. I'm just going to sit here and do nothing." Or I can do the spite funny play of, "Oh, constant miss Jeremy, constant miss Jeremy." Yeah, he's still exiling all our stuff with Evictus triggers or destroying all our stuff with Evictus triggers, but at least I'm keeping him from killing us, and maybe something can happen.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, constant miss. Anything with buyback is why counterspells exist. Not just constant miss.
Hacker, you said you had some.
Yeah, I just wanted to know. So, if we were in a situation, let's say it was the three of us playing, and the fourth player was Valdor, since he's not here.
Well, he's dead.
And let's say Valdor was the one who got like awesome. Yeah. So my question was, let's say he did this huge Torment of Hailfire, and I said, guys, I've got Pact of Negation in my hand. I don't have a way to pay for it, but I really want to play it so that the three of you guys have a more even playing field, and that it isn't just a win here. To make it a little bit easier for Valdor, still can win, but the other two, you other two guys can win too. Would you guys be salty with me as opponents who are not comboing off? Because obviously, the person who's going to get stopped and has a lower chance of winning, obviously they're going to be a little bit not pleased that they got stopped. But what about you guys, DM Cross and Frixian Walker? Would you guys be salty with me for making the game last longer?
I will never be upset with anybody who spite plays the Torment the Hailfire player. But there's a minor bias there.
I would say it depends. Does your play actually even the playing field and give me a chance of winning? Or does it just prolong my misery?
No,
because there are games like we played a game one time on stream, DM, and we couldn't talk for a couple of days after it because I played Muldrotha on your stream and it shut out everybody.
Yeah.
And like there were things people could do to hurt me, but there was nothing anyone could do to actually stop what I was doing. So, they could slow me down, but they couldn't stop the fact that the game was pretty much just locked out and miserable. So if you're just prolonging the inevitable and like they have the lock on the game and you're just stopping their way from winning the game at that moment,
yeah,
then I'd probably still be a little salty at you because it's just like, well, what's the point? Like, okay, the game was about to be over. No. You prevented the game from being over. But if it like was, oh, they've comboed off, they've gotten a bunch of mana somehow, and they're about to kill us all with a Torment of Hellfire on like turn 8. But if that spell was countered and prevented, then we could all like actually stand a chance of getting back in the game. I'd be like, yeah, let's do that. But so it would depend on the situation of the game and the way the game's flowing for me.
Yeah, I think in that situation where I can't actually prevent them from winning again, it's just they have a guaranteed win as it is, and that they will continue to have that guaranteed win. I think I wouldn't even do the pact negation because the whole reason that I would do that is to try to make the game more even for everybody to have a as close to the same chance of winning in that game as possible. But yeah, I mean, even so, somebody mentioned that this is only because pact and negation exists, but there's plenty of other examples. DM, you mentioned Cyclonic Rift, and that I think is like one of the biggest ones. There was one game where I had a huge Banefire targeting me, and I obviously I couldn't counter it. This huge Banefire, and I had 7 mana up to try to protect myself with a Cyclonic Rift. But what I did was, if I Cyclonic Rift, then everybody has just only their lands in play. And so in my mind, that was like, okay, that makes it back to equal, possibility for everybody to win. So I did that, and I did have some friends say, like, what's the point of Cyclonic Rifting if you're about to die? And I said, well, I'm just trying to make the game more fair for everybody to have the equal chance of winning, because in my mind, that's how you have a fun game. That's how you have a game that has a lot of back and forth when everybody there's no one person that has a huge lead.
I don't know. Cyclonic Rift is one of those in that situation. I think is one of those really questionable ones, because I get your idea of like we play the game to have fun, and the longer for the most part, the longer the game goes on, the more fun we can have. But there are sometimes where it's like the game just needs to be over. Like somebody's got to lose eventually, right? Like everybody's got to lose eventually. So if you're doing that late game, I think it's bad. If you're doing it early game, but you're still dying anyway, I still think it's bad.
So you would be upset with a Cyclonic Rift play in that situation?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, if it on a play like that, I would only do it if it saved my life. Like, I'm only going to play Psych Rift if it prevents me from dying. If I'm already dead on board, I'm not going to Psych Rift, like, just as the last breath, because it does hit everybody.
Yeah.
Now, if I can play, like, what's the one from Ixalan block for
River's Rebuke?
Yeah, if I can play a River's Rebuke on the person who is killing me and screw them over, I might do that. But I'm not going to play a Psych Rift and hurt everybody. because that hurts everybody, and it may or may not hurt the person who's killing me as much as it hurts other people. Now, if I have like a ley line of anticipation or a Vidalcanori in play and can Rivers rebuke the person who's about to kill me, that I do.
I mean, there's also other factors to put into there, is like, is the person who's going to kill me going to have to discard a bunch of stuff? Because if so, hacker's video just died.
Yeah, my computer crashed, but I'm gonna be here with audio until I can get my video back up.
Okay. So yeah, like if they're gonna have to discard a bunch of stuff because they don't have like Reliquary Tower, and I'm putting a bunch of permanents back in their hand, or if one of the other players has a lot of enter the battlefield triggers, maybe something like that is like different. Because if one of the let's say the ETB person is one of the people that isn't killing you, and you're doing it to spite that the person who did kill you, then right? I guess maybe.
Yeah.
Because that way you're like, oh, hey, now I'm giving the ETB person a better chance at winning. I guess that you can kind of justify that, but still, overall, I don't see the point to, because again, like those are still all your opponents. It doesn't matter if one other opponent wins over the other opponent. You still lost, and in a multiplayer game, you are trying to win the game over 3 other people or however many people.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it doesn't
is
matter.
A good expectation too, right? Because there's a lot of people who maybe they come to the table with a different goal in mind, and I think in those situations, it kind of, you can count it as, unsportsmanlike, or unsportsmanship really. If I come to the table and let's say you blow up my soul ring that I had I had starting from turn 2, and from that point on, I only attack you to try to make you lose the game as quickly as possible, then I'm not coming to the table with the same expectation or the same goal of trying to win the game. I'm trying to come to the table with, I want to punish my opponents for trying to deal with my permanent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if you're making a move and you're acknowledging that it is that it's not the best way to win the game, then that's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say like yes, but at the same time, that can be a powerful political ploy. To say if you're okay, like you're destroying my stuff. Guess what? I'm playing Atarka. Guess who Atarka is looking at when Atarka hits the battlefield because you're blowing up my stuff.
Yeah.
That can be a powerful ploy, like a political ploy, to be like, hey, don't mess with my stuff, mess with someone else's. So I've definitely played that card before of like not so much like I'm going to go after you and kill you because you blow up my stuff, but hey, you're taking that on yourself. That I don't currently have a target for Atarka. I don't know who I'm attacking because like no one is currently in the lead. Nobody's super scary. But if nobody gets super scary, guess who is Atarka's targeting if you're the one blowing up my stuff? You have given me a reason to want to target you more than the other people at the table unless they're doing something scary. I think the important part that some people leave off is that clause of unless somebody else is being scared.
Yeah.
I think in a situation, though, where not enough people are being scary, though, that means that you're in the lead. So them blowing up your stuff might be their political ploy of trying to keep you in check, right? So I think at that point, you have to kind of evaluate the situation and like, hey, is this the beginning of everybody teaming up on me because I'm the threat?
I'm talking about like early game. Like I've had people when I'm playing Atarka like counterspell my ramp because they're like, well, I don't want you to get to Atarka. It's like, well, guess what? If I manage it now, you're the one who's trying to keep my commander off the table, and that's the one you're the one I'm going after now.
Yeah, but that's them spending a resource to keep a potentially very scary commander, right? Because a target can kill people in one shot with the right cards.
Well,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, and you could say that about a lot of different decks.
Yeah.
So, but my point is, though, is that if they think they're weak to your deck, and they think that you could potentially kill anybody out of anywhere, that might be their, like, here, I'm spending a resource to keep him locked down. What are you guys doing to make sure that he doesn't one-shot any one of the 3 of us? Because you could say, oh, I'm only going to get him, but they're like, my response to always to that is like, oh, you're going to get me first. Then what are you going to do? You're going to sit there do nothing? Because most people, like, that's not how the game works. You're not gonna kill me because I mess with you and then sit there and just like pillar fort up and do nothing in a deck like Atarka. You're gonna go after somebody after that. So it's either
Yeah.
I really hope you have responses after I'm dead, or you're rallying people to respond to you and say like I'm now quote unquote an ally while we try not to die to the big dumb dragon.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm just saying,
don't
like,
disagree at all.
there's different aspects in that situation that I think, like, you have to evaluate where your position is in the food chain. If you're at the top of the food chain and people are doing stuff to you, the spite play almost
Clearly,
doesn't
if you read
matter.
Atarka flavor text, Atarka is always at the top of the food chain. Her hunger knows no limit. Left unchecked, she would feast on all of Tarkir.
No. There's only one dragon that's on top of the food chain, and that's Prosh.
No,
get
but
it?
I will say
Text on Atarka.
Got it though. Look, Prosh, right?
I know,
right?
Prosh and food chain.
And then
I know.
I will say this though. I actually have no disagreement with what you're saying, Friction. You know, if there's no one scary, no one's doing anything scary, then spite plays make a lot of strategic sense. The only thing I would like to say is I don't know that there's ever a point where I'll be at a table and I won't consider someone's doing something scary because of the fact that I can see their commanders, right? Because even if I don't necessarily know what deck that, you know, Joe Schmo is playing, right? But I see that he has the ready in his command zone. Just that fact is kind of enough in a lot of situations to make me say, okay, I'm going to, you know, keep in mind that he's pretty scary. And if no one else is doing anything, or if someone, all they're doing is just blowing up stuff that I have on my board that makes strategic sense, then yeah, I'll go after the ready. But for me, I think a lot of people kind of forget to factor in some of the unknown stuff into their threat assessment, and instead they'll tend to be okay with, oh, you hit me for 2 flying damage, well, I'm going to attack you for 5. You know what I mean? And I think this thing, and I've seen this kind of play over and over and over, it does not help them win the game because they did not put enough pressure on the person they needed to early on in the game. You guys know the saying, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And we have 3 enemies in every game of 4-player Commander. And we also have 3 allies in every 4-player game of Commander. So it's just kind of, you know, it's up to you to figure out when is someone switched from being an enemy to a friend. And you know, at what point do they become that? Because I don't think somebody blowing up my permanent automatically makes them or should make them an enemy in my mind. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that's a little unreasonable or a little bit kind of closed-minded? I haven't called that before, closed-minded.
I don't know. I'll let Frexine go first on that one because I feel like he has a decent amount to say.
Yeah.
Apparently not. You know, whatever.
I can see the point of view, but at the same time, I guess it's not my point of view. Like it's not the way that I perceive those same situations, but I can see how you would perceive it that way.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the nice things about Commander is there's no one way you have to play it, you know, because being the best often means you lose.
I do see Kraus making some interesting points over in the side. You know, talking about like withholding action out of spite, like not only taking actions but inaction out of spite. Thoughts on that, DM?
So I actually I saw that in the chat as well, and it made me think of the recent Commander Versus where they were doing the random decks, right? And John had an opportunity to respond to Jeremy Knoll. Spoiler alert. Jeremy Knoll played Urza's Ruinous Blast, which is an exile all non-legendary permanents. Sorry, typing in the card so you guys can see it. Now John, who was playing Yannette the Sphinx, pretty much looked at Justin, who had just recently done something to him, and said, I could do something about this, but I kind of don't want to because it affects you, and you just attacked me or did something to me like a few turns ago. And that's pretty much the definition of a spiteful play. So John had a response to not getting his whole board wiped, Steven's whole board wiped, Justin's whole board wiped, and then Jeremy Knoll, who's playing God Tribal, who had nothing but legendary permanents, was going to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
And he basically looked at Justin and said, you know, what do you have to say about what you did to me? And Justin went on to start justifying what he did. And John's like, you know what? Never mind. It's fine. we're good. Go on, exile everything. I don't care. And now, again, spoiler alert: it didn't work out very well for Jeremy in the end. But that inaction, right? It set Steven really far back. It even set him really far back. But he still was fine with basically not countering the Ruinous Blast, just to spite Justin for, I believe he time stopped his Nexus of Fate. That was like the big thing. So when Nexus of Fate was on the stack, Justin time stopped, which exiled Nexus of Fate. So that kind of thing. And then even, yeah, so stuff like that, right? Like that board wipe put 3 players back, and John was fine with letting it happen just to affect Justin. He was fine with even taking the hit just to affect Justin.
I've definitely done that before. Just been like, I'm not going to respond to this thing because I think that it hurts other people more.
Yeah.
Like I've had responses for board wipes or had responses for, a combo that's going off that's not going to end the game right away. And I'm just like, I'm going to let this happen because I think it actually hurts other people more. So I'm going to sit back and just see how this plays out for me. So I've definitely pulled that card before, like inaction on a certain action.
Yeah. I think
What
with
about
board
you,
wipes...
Hacker?
Go ahead.
I don't know. I think part of it is that I don't usually play a lot of counter spells in my commander decks. But I can't think of any situation where I've been in a situation like that where I've chosen to not help an opponent. I can't think of one situation maybe where I have a Maze of Ith and it's the turn right before mine, and that player is attacking someone who maybe attacked me before. I guess in that situation they might say, hey, why don't you Maze of Ith me? I think ultimately, though, for me, it still just depends. Is it the right move strategically or is it not? Because if it's the right move strategically and it's also spiteful play, I have no problem with it and I have no problem doing it. But if it's a wrong strategic play and because it's a spiteful move, I honestly think that it's like, if I'm not involved in the game, then that person's going to just, affect themselves negatively. And that's enough punishment, I think. But if I'm in the game, I think that's the time that my politics start to come out and say, look, it's in your best interest to do that. Yes, it helps me too, but it helps you for this particular reason, right? So if I were in that case and I were Justin, I wouldn't be talking and focusing on the whole, I attacked you for this reason and for this reason. You're scary this way and you're scary that way, because that only increases that animosity between the two players. I would say, look, it's important that you kill him, because if you let this resolve, all 3 of us will be struggling to fight him, who has a board state full of indestructible gods that can easily become creatures and start attacking us. I think that's the route that I would have taken. But for what John did, if it was the right move, good. If it wasn't, then he kind of shot himself in the foot more than anything.
I like crosses.
He every time he says something, it's like it makes me laugh. There are players I target mercilessly every game, even to the cost of me winning, just because I don't like their play style. I'm mean and spiteful old man. Now get off my lawn.
Chaos players. Get them out of here. Infinite combo Sphinx players.
Yeah.
I'll see if I find any of those.
They gotta be targeted immediately.
But see, is that the same reason that a chaos player is kind of I don't know the right word, but they're not as likable because they come to the game with a different end goal in mind besides winning? They say, instead of wanting to win, I want this game to be as chaotic and hard to manage and hard to plan with because of the cards that I'm playing. Do you guys think so? I don't know. What's your take on chaos? And I know it doesn't fit as well for spiteful plays, but it is kind of another reason that you might make a play besides trying to win the game.
So, because I think I'm probably the most vocal anti-chaos person like ever. I honestly, it's just anytime. It's not just chaos, right? I get upset in games when people do spiteful plays that are not strategically sound.
Yeah.
So, like we've talked about throughout the whole video of like, oh, I blew up your thing, so you blew up my thing, as opposed to blowing up the thing that's going to kill us. Stuff like that infuriates me, and it almost makes me want to do the spiteful play. And now
Yeah.
I've been the person who does the dumb thing before, but most of the time it's because I don't notice how the big thing is dangerous. I don't typically just, oh, because you did
Ignore
this,
the big thing and say, I'm gonna
yeah.
get you.
I'm not going to acknowledge that this thing could kill me and then not care. That doesn't make any sense, because the most spiteful thing I can do in this game to anybody who messes with me is to win the game. That's my opinion. If I win the
Yeah,
game, then I've
yeah.
won. I don't care what you did to me.
Yeah.
You tried to stop me and I still won. That to
Exactly.
me is
Exactly.
the most
More
thing that
important.
I can do to spite another person.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
to ignore something that's winning the game, that I'll get upset about as well. I might even do a spiteful thing like against them, which again I'll try to make it a strategically sound one. But if like if somebody is helping somebody win because they don't think they can win at this point, or they're helping somebody win because they want to screw over a third person, I'll get that person out of the game as fast as
Yeah.
I can. If I can't get just the person ahead out of the game, I'll try to get the little sidekick out the game. I'll call him a sidekick. We call
Yeah.
it king making, but in this particular instance, I don't think it's necessarily king making because it's them going after a spiteful target. So it's not so much of, oh, I'm helping
Yeah.
player 2 win, it's because I hate player 3. So I don't care what else happens. Player 2 could win or player 4 could win as long as I kill player 3 or player 3 doesn't win, right? So I don't necessarily think of it as king making, but still,
Yeah.
that irritates me because you should always be trying to win the game. That's the point to the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know
Well,
Frex and I have talked about this a couple times in games and stuff like that. Like, if I'm not winning, then why am I here?
Yeah. I mean, and some people say, no, it's about having fun. I'm like, no. Every game has a win condition for a
Yeah.
reason. Like, you didn't sit down to play the game, just say, oh, I'm going to do this. Like, even your cooperative games, there's a win condition. There's an end goal in mind which you are trying to reach together, or you wouldn't be playing the game at all.
Yeah.
So yes, there's an aspect of having fun. There's an aspect of hanging out with people and enjoying their company, which separate thing. If you don't enjoy playing with someone, don't.
Well, then stop signing up for my streams.
Ouch.
I couldn't resist. It was there. You opened the door. I had to walk through it.
I did. I just slammed my face right to us.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't even like the door was cleaned. I just like looked at the hard door and just like, hey, sweep the door. But I mean, in all seriousness, like,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, there is a win condition for a reason, and so your goal should be to try to win the game. And if you aren't making a play to do that, then, or if you're making a play that deliberately hurts someone else from winning the game,
Yeah. And I think I've mentioned this before.
when it doesn't help you.
Yeah.
And I can't remember if it was in, a personal conversation to either one or both of you guys, or if it was in a previous stream. But I have talked before about how, the people who study game theory and they study sportsmanship, they have a lot of things that they know about it. And one of the 4 pillars of sportsmanship is always having an attitude to try to win from whatever situation that you find yourself in. So in the case of taking a play that's a spite play, where you're doing something that you are acknowledging is not likely to make you more able to win that game, but you're saying, like, I know Josh Lee Kwai has said this in the past, I might be spiteful in a game to get someone to stop targeting my stuff, so that in future games they choose to not target my stuff and I have a higher chance of winning those future games. In those situations, it's not my opinion, right? Because we can all have opinions all day long, doesn't matter anything.
Yeah.
But based on the definition of sportsmanship by the experts who study that, for that's their job, is they study what sportsmanship means and how to identify when something that's not sportsmanship happens. They say if you ever make a decision and it doesn't, it has a reason for doing that decision besides trying to win the game, then that's a definition of unsportsmanship. Now, there are other things involved in sportsmanship as well, and sometimes those come at odds with those things, right? Cheating is unsportsmanlike, even though the motivation for doing it is to try to win the game or win the race or whatever you're trying to win ultimately. But that is something that we need to keep in mind, that if someone, sometimes people concede out of spite, right? Player 1 concedes because player 4 did something to them, they concede. And now player 2, someone who's not even related, has a much lower chance of winning because they were depending on player 1 being in the game for a lot longer, and then they conceded, and now they no longer have that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I think too there's the thing of like, I think Clicky was even hitting on a little bit earlier about people conceding deliberately to using concession as a way to hurt someone else's board state. Like, oh, you've stolen a bunch of my creatures. Now I concede you have nothing.
Yeah.
Like, or oh, you're about to kill me with a spell. Now I concede once on the stack, it's exiled. And you had that Archaeomancer that you could have flickered and got it back, or you had this that you could have done. Like, so there also, like, I've had several times where people have used concession as a way to, like, because the way MTGO works, that they can use concession as a way to negatively impact you in a way that they would not otherwise be able to do.
Yeah.
You know, because if you just scooped in a regular game, people are gonna be like, "Oh yeah, well that was screwed up. Just the spell goes to the graveyard. We pretend it resolves like normal.
Yeah.
That guy can't just scoop like that." But on MTGO, there's no way to prevent it. So it's just like, "Oh, scoop. Your spell's gone. Scoop. All that damage you're about to do to me doesn't get done, so you don't gain all that life. So now this person can kill you." So it's like plays like that, like using the scoop to negatively impact the game in a way that you couldn't if you were like sitting down in Paper Magic. Like people wouldn't let you. There's no way to prevent it on MTGO. So you see that a lot too.
Yeah, you see that a lot more often than I think the previous discussions we had, where do I make this spiteful play because I'm losing anyways, or do I, choose to target someone else because I don't have anything else I want to do? I feel like conceding, it happens a lot more often as in terms of the negative impacts we see from spiteful plays. What do you think, DM?
So, I don't know, because I know I've conceded games just out of pure frustration in general.
Yeah, but
the game
I even
just
think
becomes
it's different though.
Yeah. Well, I just mean in general, like if the game just becomes blatantly not fun to the point where like I'm miserable to sit here, then I don't know. Then I shouldn't be in the game anymore. Whether it's I think I can win or not eventually, because like Phyrexian said, like the whole idea of we're all here to have fun. You're here to win. The fun part is the interaction and the intricacy of the game. You should be enjoying. One, you should be playing with people that you enjoy having conversation with, because this is EDH and it's a social game, and we typically sit here and bullshit on top of the game that we're playing. So you want to have people that you can talk to. That part's the fun part. But if I'm in a game where the interactions of the decks is just miserable, and that's how I get with Chaos decks. I know, I think it was definitely Watcher in the chat mentioned how they have a Chaos deck. Kraus said that he has possibility of summon in his deck. If it's getting to the point where like just playing the game is just miserable, then hey, Phyrexian Walker resubscribed for his 3rd month in a row. Oh, thank you, Phyrexian.
Where's he at?
Where's he at? It just
I don't know who that guy is.
I don't see his camera.
It came up Hexian Walker too. Like your P got chopped off. That was funny. But you know what I mean? So like if it gets to the point where the game is just miserable, like even if I'm in a good spot and the game is miserable, like there have been times where like I just don't want to be here. Like I just dings in my head. It's like I don't want to be part of this game anymore. And I'm out. Like it's just miserable to play the game. And that's why I have such a hatred of Chaos decks, is because they get me like that.
Yeah, honestly, there is a line though, right? I have a good friend of mine. He was the friend of mine that introduced me into Commander, and I used to play with him every week. And this guy is super awesome to hang out with. I really like. He built really powerful Commander decks too, and he was just a great person to play with. But I noticed something that happened in a lot of our games, and it like bothered me so much. If people were accurately dealing with his permanence in order to prevent him from being able to win the game easily, he would scoop. And I'm not saying like he had nothing else to do, and so he would scoop because, out of frustration. It was just, if the path for him to win wasn't something that he saw as the easiest at the table, then he said, why am I playing this? It's hard for me to win at this point. And it bothered me so much because that's something that's supposed to happen normally.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of unfair to try to limit the amount of time that other people are in a winning position and to increase the amount of time that you're in a winning position simply through the act of conceding. And so that's, I think, a lot of where my anti-conceding philosophies come from, is because, yeah, like DP Cross says here, don't chop the P. That sounds painful. I think this is along the same lines of painfulness here.
But yeah, I think I agree a lot with what you're saying, and I think it is the spirit of the concession. Like if you're like, if someone's to be like, guys, I'm just not having fun anymore. I'm just done. I need to go, be done with this, and said I'm gonna concede for that reason.
Yeah.
That's one thing. If they're conceding because, oh, you're messing with my stuff, you're interacting with my board, I'm gonna concede. The game of Magic doesn't have enough interaction as is.
Yeah.
So,
Real
It
quick,
needs to
I'm
be
gonna
more-
interrupt real quick. Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you, Eagle Vision 13 for the follow. Appreciate you.
so like I feel like people don't put enough interaction in their decks as is. Like
Yeah.
counter spells, a lot of people are like, "Oh, I hate counter spells so much," that people are afraid to play with counter spells because they're like, "Oh, people are gonna hate me because I'm like." But counter spells are preventing them from doing what they want to do.
Yeah.
But at the same
That's part
time,
of the
like in
game.
some decks, that's your only form of interaction. Like if you're playing mono blue, guess what? You gotta be running counter spells because the rest of your interaction is just not
Yeah.
good enough.
Yeah.
So besides Cycrift, but
There's Pondify. There's Rapid Hybridization.
that's not good enough because sometimes you don't want to turn it into a 3/3.
There's Unesh. Does that count?
All right.
But-
No.
I'm just saying, like the doing things that
Yeah.
discourages people from building their decks well or from playing the game well, like that does annoy me. But like if it was this
Yeah.
thing DM's talking about, like I've had people concede before because they like just have to go or because they're sick of the game, like it's gone on for 2 hours and I'm like, I just can't play this game anymore. It's been 2 hours and they concede, and like I'm fine with that, but
Yeah.
just a completely different thing when they use it as a weapon. They use their concession as a weapon, either to hurt the
Yeah.
person because of what's going on in the stack, or because of what's
Mhm.
going on in combat, or to hurt or to do what you're talking about. And like, okay, if you're gonna mess with my stuff, I'm just not gonna play. Like I'm
Yeah.
gonna concede every time. And then that in the future, people have that in the back of their mind. Well, if I do this, then they're not going to.
Yeah.
I think I just don't play with that person. Like
Yeah,
the game is
and-
not. It's not
Yeah.
sole player, right? There's interaction for a reason in this format. So if you're that guy, I think I just don't play with you. I think I just turn around and be like, look, man, if you can't handle the game, maybe you need to go play standard or something, or modern, where like the games are meant to be 1v1, so you have a little bit more control over how much stuff is coming your way.
Yeah. Or just I think part of it also was that the fact that he was such a good player, he would often pair that with building great 99 card decks and also picking very strong commanders. And so all three of those aspects combined, it kind of often made it that the right move was to get rid of his permanent or to play the thing that really hurts what he has in his hand.
So let me
yeah.
toss out a question for you though. Is
Yeah,
it that
yeah.
he was a good deck brewer, which obviously is because he had strong decks, but can there be a disconnect between he's good at building decks and he's a good pilot? Because it seems like he's not a good enough pilot to deal with the pressure of.
No, he was a very good pilot as well.
Okay.
There was one game that I played where it was a 3-player game, and me and another guy, we went completely like arch enemy on him, and we brought him all the way down to 1 life. I mean, I think it was from the very beginning of the game, we were like both afraid of what he was doing, and so we just the whole time we were trying to take him out, and he ended up winning that game from 1 life. The guy got down the front, the other player, he got down Staff of Nin and tapped it to try to kill him, and he had Void Slime in his hand at that moment to counter that thing. And then on his next turn, he also destroyed the Staff of Nin. So I mean, like, there was a lot of stuff going on in the game, or maybe it was Stifle, something along those lines. He stifled the activation. But the guy is a very, very good pilot. It's just he does get to the point. I remember one game, and I'm sorry if I'm kind of bogging this down with specific examples. I played something along the lines of a stranglehold.
Okay.
I played, and we at that point were supposed to be allying against someone who is very, very scary. And I played down the stranglehold, And he said, dude, I got 2 fetch lanes in my hand and a demonic tutor that I was planning on using to go and tutor for my combo piece. So I'm scooping. I mean, this is too brutal for me. I can't tutor with anything.
Yeah.
And so situations like that, it kind of like it came up over and over and over where if it wasn't clear, the direction or the path for him to win, he just wouldn't play. Because oftentimes, he was a very good player, a very good deck builder. And he was so much fun to hang out with. I mean, I still find him, I consider him a close friend. And if I had the opportunity, I would still definitely play with him. But that's not to say that I have to ignore everything that is, negative about someone's personality.
Well, so my question came up because when I think of a good pilot, you have to be able to play innovatively and also from behind. And it sounds like to me personally that he couldn't do that. Because he has to be.
He could. It's just I didn't think he wanted to. I think he didn't want to have to go through the effort.
And just lazy. Lazy.
Well, kind of since we're hitting like the close to an hour mark here, I want to transition to kind of like the last idea. Like we talked about earlier a little bit, but like let's talk about that specific scenario where you're about to die, and you have that thing you can do.
Yeah.
Is it okay to do it if it hurts other people? Like, in particular, you talked about the scenario where the person is dying and they decide, oh, I'm going to hurt the 2 other people who aren't the person killing me, but then I'm going to help that person win, so then I lost the person.
Yeah.
That's it's
a no for me.
No. Or I can, or maybe it's the scenario of I can hurt this person that's killing me. Or maybe it's a situation of, well, this person's killing me, but these other people have scary things on the board that I think are worse than what this person's doing to kill me. So I'm going to deal with those things instead before I have to go out. So what about like scenarios like that? Like you're on the way out the door and you're making impactful plays on the game.
You go ahead. Go first, DM.
I think the only impactful plays to make when you are dying and there's no way to stop it is to the person killing you. Because in terms of spite, I think that's the only fair way to be spiteful. Because they're killing you. They're taking you out of the game. They're denying you the opportunity to do the thing that you came here to do, so you might as well affect them as much as you can. Now,
sorry to interrupt, but that kind of comes back to that previous thing, right? If someone's attacking you with a lethal board state, you can concede to prevent them from having their lifelink gain them life. What's the difference?
No. You don't do that, though.
Right, but is there a difference for you between hurting someone who's killing you with a spell in your hand or hurting them by conceding? Is there something
there's a difference because what they're doing by conceding would not be allowed within a normal game of Magic. It's just allowed because of the way MTGO allows you to concede at instant speed and be like, nope, I'm done. Like you would never be allowed to do that sitting at a table playing Magic with 3 other people. If you were playing a game of Commander with 3 other people at a table, they'd just be like, okay, well, he says he conceded, but guess what? You still gain the life. All this still happens because they were dead anyway. So I'd say they're different because one is within the rules and confines of Magic and one is not.
And you also got to think back to the sportsmanship thing. That's being a sore loser. So using your resources to kill the person who killed you, I think that is not poor sportsmanship. I think you are opening yourself. If you're going to kill me, for instance, in a game, you are invoking that reaction from me. That's part of the game. But
I'm completely fine with that reaction. If I'm about to kill you and you start blowing up my stuff because you're about to die and you have ways to blow up some of my stuff before you do, have at it, dude, because you deserve that. You deserve that last, from hell's heart, I stab at the moment. You deserve it.
But now to concede, that's something that it's part of the game, right? So what I'm going to say I think isn't going to come across right, but it works outside the game. You're affecting outside the game at that point.
Yeah.
And that's poor sportsmanship. To try to deny somebody. You're not doing something. You're not fogging or preventing the lifelink in a mechanical way. You're
trying to bend the rules so that you can affect the game.
You're using the game rules to do something that I think is poor sportsmanship.
Yeah, the whole reason conceding exists is as a way to end the game. The game was never designed with it continuing after someone concedes. That was never part of the rules. And I would even be arguing that maybe Wizards of the Coast needs to think about whether they want to add rules regarding conceding in multiplayer games. A lot of people talk about, conceding at sorcery speed. I think that's probably fine enough. If they do more than that, even better. But I did have a question, and this is for both of you. This is different than the conceding versus. Yeah, so DP Cross here says always concede at sorcery speed.
I would even propose that you're only allowed to concede during your turn.
I would love that, yeah.
Unless there's I guess that would be like with the caveat unless someone's about to combo off, but
I think my only problem with those rules changes is that you're no longer holding people accountable.
Yeah.
You're forcing people to do the right thing as opposed to just people should just do the right thing. You know what I mean?
See.
And I get what you're saying, right? It'll probably create less bad situations, but my problem is always like it's so easy to just do the right thing. It's so easy to not be a jerk.
Right.
Coming from somebody who is kind of a jerk a lot of the times, it's so easy to not be a jerk. To just make that choice. Right?
And something I want to...
Yes.
Something I wanted to address here, Eagle Vision 13, maybe I shouldn't have read out their username, but they said, I'm guilty of conceding before a Sword of Feast and Famine triggers on me. And I think, honestly, for myself, in the past, I used to not be so aware of doing the right thing when it comes to conceding. And I think that's okay if we learn from it and we move forward, right? Yeah. If we've, I can kind of speak for all three of us here. There's probably been a time where we made a concession where if we weren't in the moment, if we weren't, filled with anger or rage or whatever, we said, okay, that was a kind of a jerk move for me to make. I know I've done stuff like that too. So if we can learn from it and going forward say, okay, I'm going to make a rule for myself that I'm not going to concede, even when it's easy for me to do that, even when it's convenient for me to do that. I'm going to, let people have their fun when they're winning.
I only concede if the game is over.
Yeah, if the game's over, the game's over.
If the game is over, infinite combo on the stack, or an unwinnable situation set up by a combo on the stack, and there's nobody has interaction with that combo, I concede pretty much instantly in that case because I'm not going to sit there through it. But in any other situation, even combat situations, I sit there and let the person kill me. If you're just swinging out with combat damage to kill me, I sit there. I make you kill me. You kill me. But if it's going to be a 17
it's going to take a long time.
Yeah, that's going to take 10 minutes to play through. Yeah, I'm going to concede to that.
Yeah.
So if it's a short combo, I'll sit there through that one too. But if it's a long, drawn out combo, no, I'm not going to sit there while you sacrifice this creature so that you make a token, so that you sacrifice this, and then you just keep that chain's going to happen, and eventually I'm going to lose. I'm not going to sit there through that. All those clicks.
I think I know I have blatantly gone to concede in frustration and whatnot. And even on the stream, I've right clicked and hovered over it and then been like, no, just let them have it. And then I'll go to the next game. That's not the right thing to do. So I'll be the first to admit that I have the thought, but I try to stop myself from doing it.
The thought, yeah.
I don't know that I've ever done it. I'm sure I probably have, because I'm sure I've probably not caught myself beforehand. So I have probably done it. If somebody in the chat would be like, oh, what about this game? I would probably regret it and would apologize for it. Yeah. The other day, just in general, stuff happens in the game and sometimes you wish it didn't happen. So if I did it, I didn't do it with a clear head. Yeah. I think is the right way.
And I think something that could really help that, and I like I said, for myself, I need help remembering that too, is a simple change in the rules. So you mentioned conceding to combos, Friction. What if they made a rule like this? If you're in a multiplayer game, you can concede only at sorcery speed unless everybody except for one person chooses to agree at the same time. So let's say someone's going off with a combo, all right, and then you look at your two allies or the two other people and say, hey, the three of you guys want to concede? The three of us, do we want to concede right now? If everybody says, yeah, sure, why not? But I think if one person says, no, I think I might be able to deal with something, I might be able to survive, then I think someone conceding there hurts them more. So kind of my question here is, if they added a simple rule like this, either everybody except for the winner concedes, or concessions can only happen at sorcery speed during multiplayer games, how would you guys feel about a rule change like that?
I don't know. I'm still against the whole you have to police people's actions because they can be accountable when people are capable of being accountable. I don't think I'll ever agree to it, because at the end of the day, people should just know how to act. And if they don't know how to act, then don't play with them. It should be that simple. Because to pull, same quote I've been saying for a few weeks now from the D&D world, no magic is better than bad magic. So if playing with person makes me miserable, I'm just not going to play with them anymore because they make me miserable.
And I agree with what Esper said in the chat that then you run into situations too where one person decides they want to sit through it and say, "Oh, this looks like a really cool combo. I've never seen this happen before. I want to sit through it. Oh, you two guys want to concede? Too bad."
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, in that situation, I think you can just tell them what it looks like. That way, they don't have to sit through it, right?
Hey, some people want to see it happen. They want to say they had the experience. There are people like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to take another quote from D&D, is that you need to talk to people when problems like that arise. So you need to be able to talk to people. Yes, and that's something that as nerds, right? We're all nerds here. We sometimes have a problem with.
I'm a nerd.
I mean, the shoe fits. If it sits, it fits. If it sits, it ships.
Yep.
Or if it fits, it sits. I don't know. Anyway,
it fits. It ships.
There you go. But yeah, if I can't bring myself to talk about the problem, then I am now going to start being at fault for just letting it go on and never saying anything and then having a bad time. So people need to be able to break through, conflict is awkward. Because yes, I understand that it is awkward. I'm not saying it's not. But you have to be able to speak up, and basically like, hey, I don't like to sit here and watch you combo off, so I'm going to scoot. Oh, well, I don't want you to. It's like that. Okay, well, sorry. You not wanting me to doesn't make me want to sit here anymore. So maybe the compromise is I'll let you loop it a few times just to prove you can, if that makes you feel better. But after that, I am going to scoop. If it pisses you off that much, then we don't have to play another game together. That's up to you. But I don't want to sit here and just sit here and watch, right? So that's a big thing. People have to be able to talk to each other in a social format. If you can't talk to people, I don't know why you're playing Commander, personally. But you have to be able to hit those hard topics. So just a little food for thought, because a lot of people, you'd be surprised how many people on Reddit or Twitter complain about games, either in Magic or D&D, or complain about players, or complain about the way the DM does this, that, and the other thing, or DMs complaining about the way the players play the game. And it's like, if you just talk to them and let them know that it bothers you, that would probably lead to solving the problem.
Yeah.
Talking to people solves problems.
Yeah, and if it doesn't solve the problem, if you talk to a person that doesn't solve the problem, that's the person you just need to disassociate with.
But that's a resolution that you get from talking it out.
That's true. That's
true. What I mean?
But, you do need to be willing to take that step. Like, if you go to a person and you talk to them like, "Hey, dude, this isn't cool, and we're really not cool with you doing it," and they're like, "I don't care. I'm gonna keep doing it anyway." You'd be like, "Okay, well, we don't care to play with you anymore."
People got to be able to make those hard calls. I mean, it's a hobby, right? We're here to have fun. Yeah. We want to have fun at the table, and if you're not having fun, you need to try to talk about why you're not having fun. Honestly, I've seen groups break up because they just have different ideas of what they want to play. It sucks, but hopefully you go your own route, and you find out, you find people that are like-minded like you, and you have fun that way. Not everybody is good to play every hobby together.
Yeah.
That's just the truth.
If there was in your mind, what's the big takeaway or the big conclusion or summary of our discussion here? What's the one thing that somebody listening or someone watching can take with them and use in their daily life practically?
Don't be a dick. I'm serious. Don't be a dick about things. It's one thing, again, if somebody does something to you, because this is a competitive hobby. If somebody hits you, it's okay to hit them back, but don't be a dick about it. Don't only ever hit them ever again with everything you have, because that doesn't make sense from a strategic. Like, think about what you're doing. And Cross actually asked the question at one point: is it spite plays or threat assessment? Sometimes they are the same thing.
Yeah.
Make good threat assessment. Spite plays when it is a good threat assessment.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
just don't be an asshole about things. It's that simple. Go into the game trying to enjoy that game and not just make everybody miserable.
I would say like spike plays that are either like good natured, like hey, you blew up my thing, now it's your turn to get blown up, or hey, you poked me with that 1/1 on turn 1. Guess what? Now I'm gonna hit you with my 5/5 on turn 5. Like it's like stuff like that. That's
That's fine.
good and
Yeah.
that's healthy. But it's like it's gotta be good natured. That way, it can't be like a dog with a bone. Like now I'm gonna hit you with this 5/5 every turn until you're dead, and every other creature I ever get ever, because you hit me with that 1/1 on turn 1, or stuff like that. Yeah, it's in moderation, and it's keeping the threat assessment with it. Like, okay, you did this bad thing to me, and I could do this spiteful thing to you, but that guy has a paradox engine in his hand, and we know he has it in his hand because it was revealed. So I'm gonna hold on to my curse and grip until he plays paradox engine.
Yeah. Those
What
are
about
both
you?
great takeaways. I think for me, the big takeaway, to kind of reiterate what you guys mentioned, always put threat assessment highest. And if you don't know what threat, like what the accurate threat assessment is, there's no rule that says you can't ask your opponents. I've done that plenty of times where it's like, I'm about to be discarding my hand. I've got Nature's Claim in my hand. So like someone's got a wheel in the stack. I got a Nature's Claim. I gotta use it now or else I'll never have it. So what do you guys think is the scariest artifact at the or artifact or enchantment? So sometimes that's something to keep in mind. And yes, I think it's very important to just always be aware that it's not 3 computers that are playing with you. It's 3 human beings that have their own emotions, their own reactions, their own triggers for what makes them super angry. So like, for example, when I play on Magic Online, especially if I'm recording from my YouTube channel, I will say, please don't concede, because I don't want any games that have a concession in them.
Yeah.
And there are still people that will concede, even saying, yeah, sounds good. And then later on, Swords to Plowshare my commander, so now I'm gonna concede. It's happened plenty of times. And yeah, something you can do online, you can just not play with them anymore.
Yeah.
So you can do that in real life too, and do it online. So that's my takeaway. Don't be a jerk, and always value threat assessment more than whatever else you want to value.
Yeah. One final comment from the chat. Esper there did say, if you don't be afraid to apologize if you think you're being a jerk. I just want to back that up. If you find out later that you said something or did something in the heat of the moment that you did via anger or frustration or any emotion, whatever, go back and talk to that person. I've done this on stream before, where like Derek actually and I had a argument in stream because I didn't hear something he said. I went back and watched the video. His audio broke up, so he probably did say it, and I just didn't hear him. But I went back and I said, look, I shouldn't have just said that you didn't say it. I should have said I didn't hear it, blah, blah, blah. And my words were more aggressive than they needed to be. This is a game. We should have been having fun. So if you are in an emotional state and you say or do something, go and apologize for it. It'll make playing with people that much better in the future. So, but for now, though, we are going to wrap this up. That was fun. I think we got a little off topic, but we did overall cover the extent of what we wanted to cover. You guys can, of course, always follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/PraetorMagic, here on twitch.tv/PraetorMagic, youtube.com/PraetorMagic, and facebook.com/PraetorMagic. Magical Hacker, you have a bunch of your own social media and resources if you'd want to go ahead.
Yeah, so tappedout.com/MTG-users/magical hacker. That's my Tapped Out profile page, where you can find all my lists of staple effects, effects that the majority of decks want to have at least one of, depending on what type of deck they are. But just a really good sort of set of resources if you want to find, let's say, card draw, ramp, tutors, board wipes, spot removal, all that stuff. You'll find all that there. That's my Tapped Out page. My YouTube page is youtube.com/C/Magical Hacker MTG. I do a video every Saturday and a new deck every month. So yeah, come check out my stuff out. You can find me on Twitter as well, magical__hacker. I'll say random stuff every now and then,
And
And
of
I think
course,
that's pretty much
we'll make sure those links are down in the descriptions below. For our YouTube folks, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. For our Libsyn and Spotify folks, please make sure you, I think, like it and leave a review for the channel. I have to figure out what those are exactly. Join us, of course, as Magical Hacker said at the beginning, every Monday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time as we do this live podcast.
You mean 9. You said 9:30. You mean 9.
9. Yeah,
9
good catch.
Eastern, yeah.
9:30. 9.
I'm paying attention.
30 would
I'm paying
be too
attention.
late. 9:30 would be a little bit too late. You'd come in the halfway point. So you could join us at 9:30, but we start at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Just different topic every week. Sometimes it's current events. Like last week we did the Ultimate Masters set and our opinions on it. And this week we didn't have any real big news, so we're just talking about all kinds of other stuff. So join us.
No big news. No big news.
About
Rest
Magic?
in peace, Stan Lee died.
About Magic. But yes, unfortunately, it was very sad to hear earlier today. Stan Lee did die. He was 95 years old. He was a great person. I know a lot of people out there say some negative things about him, but I think overall, I think you can say he was a pretty good person. So I don't want to get too much into detail about that. But yeah, rest in peace. Thoughts and prayers go out to his family. I hope everybody's doing well. Again, live to be 95. I hope he had a good 95 years. Yeah. 9 o'clock next Monday, Eastern Time. And I think that's all we got. Oh, make sure you guys join the Discord. That's right. I will make sure there's a Discord link down below. The only reason why I don't mention that one is because it is not just discord.com/PraetorMagic, because Discord links are dumb. But make sure you hit that link below and you can talk to us in the Discord all day long.
Tell us why we're wrong.
And if you want to talk to Frexian Walker, it's the only way because he doesn't do social media.
Yeah, where's your social media, Frexian? We didn't plug you.
That's it. Discord. If you want to talk to Frexian, you have to join the Discord.
And of course, always consider becoming a Twitch subscriber, because if you are in the Discord, you get access to the Frexian Arena, which is where we talk to our Twitch subs about some topics that we don't talk about always in the public. For instance, today I was writing my EDH Rec article, so I was talking to some of the subs there about cards I should put in and pet cards that they wanted to see in the article. And every once in a while, I'll shout people out from the Discord on edhrec.com just to say thank you for helping out. So until next time, guys.
And you can catch Pokemon too. Catch Pokemon in that sub.
That's true.
Thanks so much for watching.
Yep. See you guys on Wednesday for stream, Friday for stream, 8:30 for now, but it might go to 9 o'clock. Just keep an eye on the Discord. And we'll see you guys next Monday for reflections. That's all we got for y'all. Peace.
Good night.